Hello, everyone. I'm Connor Cadlick, the president of the Cleveland chapter of the Miami University Alumni Association. Thank you all for joining today's webinar as we kick off our 2023 Redbrick Leadership Series with Mike Marhofer, class of 1987. For our registered live viewers, we do have a chat feature where you can send in questions for Mike throughout the hour using the Ask a Question button below the video. We will address them near the end of the webinar. Introducing today's guest, Mike is a partner at Benesch Law here in Cleveland, Ohio, and serves as co-chair of the firm's corporate and securities practice group. Mike focuses his practice on mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, and divestitures for a wide range of companies and industries, including public companies, private equity firms, independent sponsors, family offices, private companies, and individuals. His experience with private equity funds, independent sponsors, and family offices helps him assist clients in capital formation matters, mezzanine capital financings, and venture capital transactions. Clients also rely on him to provide day-to-day counseling on a full range of corporate, financing, and transactional topics, and he regularly negotiates and drafts all types of commercial contractual arrangements. Mike has been listed on the Best Lawyers in America for Mergers and Acquisitions Law since 2017. He's been on the Chambers USA leading lawyers list for corporate and M&A transactions since 2010 and was listed on Ohio Super Lawyers in both 2018 and 2019. After graduating from Miami, Mike received his MBA from the University of Akron and his JD from the University of Akron School of Law. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you on the series. Thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to today's discussion.
Thank you, Connor. So am I. Appreciate that introduction.
So I guess just jumping right into questions, with all the possible schools to go to when you graduated high school, what made you choose Miami for college?
Well, I think it was like a lot different back then. You didn't, go visit colleges all the time and do this broad search. But my brother went to Miami. It's one of those things where I think you fall in love with it the first time you see it. So for me, it was, being there, familiar there, my brother there, the campus, it's just, stunning. But also, I guess a couple other reasons for me was I wanted to go to business school. And even back then, even more so than now, that it was a solid business school to go to. So I enjoyed that. And I also wanted to continue my football career. I played a couple years in high school and wanted to play football, and didn't think Ohio State would let me walk on, but Miami did. And so Miami back then still does a fantastic walk-on program for football. So multitude of reasons, but it's just really the best university in Ohio, I think. Great, one of the best business schools in the country, and let me walk on and play some football. So pretty easy choice for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that it is the case for a lot of people that, you step on campus for the first time and the red bricks and the buildings and everything, and you do fall in love with it immediately.
Yeah. And I got one son there, and my daughter's a junior in high school. So hopefully I told her she could go to Miami or Ohio State with a strong focus towards Miami. So we'll see what she picks. Yeah, it's something that's, stays with you, and it's easy to fall in love with for sure.
And are they going to follow you down the legal path?
I don't think so. That I wouldn't pressure them into. So we'll see. They're still trying to figure out what they want to do. It's hard. It's a tough path, but it's rewarding, and I'm sure we can talk about that later. But no lawyers in the future right now. But I didn't think I was going to be a lawyer when I was at Miami either. So, you never know.
So you said when you went to Miami, you were interested in going into the business school. What major did you choose, and why did you choose that?
Yeah, it was definitely business school for me. We have family businesses, and, I just wanted to kind of hone my skills in that area. I chose marketing. I'm not really sure why. Maybe it was the easiest. I don't know, but certainly didn't really want to be an accountant, so didn't want to go that route. Actually, in my head, I wanted to be in sports, whether it be sports marketing or sports agent, sports management side. So I thought marketing really had really the best broad background to do some of those things. So, and you get a great variety of things in the business school. So I figured marketing would be best. I wish they had more of the entrepreneurship programs that they do now. I think those would be excellent, particularly in today's world. I would have enjoyed taking a focus on that, but it wasn't as available as it is now.
Mhm. So just going into Miami as a marketing major and sticking with that through your time there, at what point did you decide that you maybe wanted to pursue a legal career? Was that at Miami? Was that after Miami?
Yeah, it was after. It's actually fairly interesting, at least to me. I always wanted to be a sports agent, as I kind of mentioned. And, after I left Miami, well, while I was at Miami, I literally sent, again, sports marketing, I sent letters to every major sports team. I still have somewhere the ding letters I got from, like every one of them, because I just thought it was cool because their letterhead had, the team's logo on it. So that didn't work out. And I came back and was working with my father a little bit and at the time. And I met a sports agent, and he basically told me, you need to be an accountant or a lawyer or an ex-athlete with connections, right? You just really needed to know somebody. So I didn't want to be an accountant and I guess an ex-athlete, but not really with connections to the first round draft choice or anything like that. So I literally, in his advice, I went to law school a couple months later. So, it really wasn't on my radar. I didn't take any classes associated with pre-law or anything. But and we can get into it in a little bit about, my practice and it really is a business practice of law. That's the M&A side. So that's, it was really chasing the path of being a sports agent and having the advice of going to law school.
And so you said you came back from school and you were working with your dad a little bit. Is that sort of where the legal aspect became important to you?
Yeah, for sure. We had car dealerships in our business, in our family business, and he had sold his. And then, and in his back half of his career, he was basically a business broker for car dealerships. So he would bring, he'd represent buyers or sellers and finding partnerships to buy businesses. And then I joined him. We expanded a little bit outside the car dealership aspect of it, but I found that was a lot of fun. I could use both the business side of understanding the business, understanding the financial statements, and preparing a business for sale, as well as the legal side and facilitating, the transaction itself on the legal document. So it was a good mix of basically being an investment banker early in my career rather than a lawyer at the start.
No, and it sounds like that was great experience. And how long were you working with him there?
So about 2 years, and then he'd want to play golf or go play bridge in the afternoon, and I kind of wanted more type of thing. And I was young and didn't know anything, and he just was again near retirement. So at that time, I really had just wanted to do more, and it was tough to do it by myself. So I joined a law firm then. So that was a couple of years after law school, and really then got into the pure legal aspects of mergers and acquisitions and being a business lawyer. So it was it was 3 years law school and MBA, and then maybe 2 years with him before I switched to a law firm. And I've been in private practice for 30 years since then.
And so when you started working with a law firm after getting your law degree, I mean, how long was that time frame before you started working in sort of what you're doing now, like the M&A and corporate securities?
Really kind of immediately. I mean, once you become an associate, you're thrown right into all aspects of the M&A process. So, and it's been, it's been great, right? It's a practice where you meet a lot of people, you meet a lot of different businesses. And we can get into some of the other aspects in more detail, but pretty much immediately you dive right in and you're working on transactions at a young age.
And since then, you've just felt like this is exactly what you want to do, and that's something you want to stick with.
Yeah, really, I haven't diverged off of what I've been doing for the last 30 years. Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes, clients call and maybe you join, a private equity firm or another client, but I truly enjoy the private practice. Again, no day is the same. On any different day, I'll be working on 5, 6 different client matters, completely different clients, completely different people, and whether it be private equity or strategic companies or really just private companies looking to grow through acquisitions. It just gives you such a broad range of types of transactions and industries. It's just a lot of fun. Like on day-to-day basis, I'll be selling a bourbon distillery or a wealth management business or a multitude of different businesses for private equity, including environmental services or dietitians in healthcare. It's just every day is like that. I bought a golf course 2 years ago for somebody and raised capital for that. It's just a lot of fun from that aspects being in private practice, because really everybody could be a client, and everyone has a story, and it's really fun helping people buy or sell a business. That's what I love about the practice. End of the day, everybody's happy, right? We have closing dinners, and everyone gets pats on the back, and you get to finish it in 4 to 6 or maybe a little bit longer time frame. So it's just a really rewarding practice. Again, everyone's happy, unlike litigation where really no one's happy at the end. Even if you win, you got it was a tough fight, and you pay a lot in legal fees, and you really don't get anything tangible out of it. My practice, you get a pile of assets or a pile of cash, and again, everybody's happy at the end of it. So it's a very rewarding practice, and yeah, I just really never veered off of it over the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess just jumping back to your time in Miami really fast, was there anything specific at Miami or about your time in Miami that you believe helped shape your career today? Whether that be specific classes, professors, student organizations, experiences?
Yeah, good question. I don't think I remember the classes as much. Some great professors. I certainly remember them to this day. Yeah, I really probably have to go back to athletics. Always been a team sport guy. I think what it instills in you, the teamwork, the hard work, camaraderie, setting goals, and putting yourself out there really. And you get a lot of positives, but you do suffer adversity, whether it's injury or losses or not enough playing time. But it does shape you, and long-lasting relationships when you have 2 days in the middle of the summer down in Oxford. You commiserate together, you become close, and I just think that goes a long way in really any career. So it's really challenging yourself, getting yourself out of the comfort zone, and I think those things prepare you well for really any challenge going forward, because it's hard to do it alone. And sometimes it's hard to challenge yourself or get out of your comfort zone. And I'm, a perfect example of that. It's not easy, even to me to this day, to do those types of things. But, the opportunity that Miami provided on not only the education side, but on the athletic side was invaluable. And the people I met were totally shaped my career from the start.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think anybody that has gone to Miami has that one person or experience or something to that effect that really kind of helps them decide what direction they want to go going forward.
Yeah, I'd say probably my coaches were that. I can't tell you all the stories of behind the scenes of because I think it's different then than it is now about how they motivated us. But but all for the better. They're really, I still remember the inspirational, motivational speeches before games and practices and getting us through 2 days and such. Being young, you probably don't appreciate that as much, while you're doing it. But you look back at it and, it's just awesome, really. And it does definitely shape you for the future.
No, definitely. I can definitely see that, just having to balance, something as intensive as the football program with your, regular classes, for 4 years. And you played all 4 years, right?
Yeah, I did.
So I guess moving along, do you have any advice for a recent graduate or soon to be graduate that's pursuing a similar career path?
Yeah, absolutely. So, take all the business classes you can. I mean, M&A is just filled with business types of class. I mean, aspects. I mean, reading financial statements, understanding really all natures of the business, how entrepreneurial minds work. I mean, no question, I would do that. I mean, if you're going to get into law, obviously, go to a good law school, focus on M&A and business classes and that. A good tax background and a focus in law school is no question, kind of necessary for this practice. And then just call me, right? So I'm in charge of all the recruiting here at Benesch with respect to the corporate practice. Me and my colleagues are, and I mean, and again, even if you didn't have a business background at Miami, there's plenty of good ones in law schools to take advantage of, and you can pick up some of the financial statements and other types of classes, even outside of law school type of thing. But in the end, go to a good law school, do well, and get into a big law firm. And quite frankly, I'll admit it, that even through the Miami and Akron and all that education, you learn your trade by doing. And once you get here, I still say you're not a good writer until you're out of law school for 10 years, legal writer. So it really is hands-on training. So my advice would be, study hard in law school, get that first job, and get a good mentor and really learn your skill in a hands-on experience. It's not unlike anything else, but it's hard to learn the practice of law in law school. They teach you a lot of great stuff. There's no question about that. Critical thinking, issue spotting, communications, and all of that. But in the end, you gotta do it.
Right. It's all about applying what you've actually learned, and the stuff that you see in school is not the things that you're going to see in real life.
No one can teach you that. So you got to do it. You got to experience it. Got to get your hands dirty.
Absolutely. No, it's great advice. Do you have any advice for a recent graduate living in Cleveland?
No, just I love that. I love Northeast Ohio. I love Cleveland. I've worked up here now 30, probably 28 years straight. Cleveland's bouncing back like anywhere else. I think a lot of our young folks here are living downtown and kind of bringing it back post COVID. So enjoy that, enjoy those experiences, because I think they're important to drive more people downtown, drive businesses downtown, and all of that. But just have fun, make connections. The whole world is about relationships. Not sure many businesses are not that. So again, as I spoke about before, put yourself out there, get out of your comfort zone, make relationships, particularly in the area you're going to be working. So I guess my advice from that standpoint is to, join organizations like you're running, Connor, you and Emily are doing here. Fantastic one, right? Miami alumni are strong, particularly in Northeast Ohio, all of Ohio. And get involved and make the connections. what I love about Northeast Ohio and the business community here is people, it's big, but it's not, right? We still know everybody, particularly in the deal community, and everyone wants to help each other out, right? Everyone wants to collaborate, whether it's on business deals or I need a person for this, or I need a lawyer or accountant for that, or an investment banker. We all like to help each other out in that situation. So, and yet it's big enough that I'm doing deals across the country, and still, it's just a great area around here to support those types of activities. But as far as advice, I think get involved, meet people, grow your network, develop relationships, and help people out.
Absolutely. And so in your opinion, what makes somebody a good attorney?
First and foremost, I think you got to be a good listener, right? You really need to focus on your client's goals. And for that, you need to understand them. You need to understand the business that they're in, and you understand what they want to do. And recognize we're in a service business, right? And so it's a 24/7 job, and so you always gotta be there. You got to be there when they need it. You got to be the ear that they want, to be a trusted advisor. You just need to be available. You do need to listen and focus on their goals. Also, you got to add value, right? There's a lot of people that do what I do, that are good at it, know the technical aspects of getting a deal done. But then you got to add value, right? You got to be memorable. You got to make yourself different than, being able to get a deal done. And we like to say, just be more than a lawyer, right? And touched on it before, and that is, making introductions, trying to add value that way, whether it's a person they want to hire, or money they want to raise, or business they want to buy. We're always looking to do more than just their legal work. But certainly legal work's, got to be top notch, got to solve problems. You got to stay out of the way, focus on the goal of getting the deal done. That's what makes a great, at least M&A lawyer. So, listening, focusing on the goal, getting it done efficiently, solving problems, and adding value. I guess that's not one thing, but that's a lot of things that make a good lawyer. But again, that's probably applicable to a lot of different businesses, right? You want to be memorable. You need to listen. You need to, add value, and you need to get, whatever it is. You need to get the deal done in my case, or the loan closed in your case, Connor. And and you want to be the guy that the person that they know that you go to, and that's what they're going to focus on. They're going to focus on their goal and get it done for you.
And so I guess, jumping back to sort of the deals that you work on, and you touched on this a little bit, just in terms of like the variety of the transactions you work on. Is there a typical size to the transaction your team works on? I mean, is it typically larger or smaller, or across the board?
Yeah, well, it's kind of across the board, but I said we're middle market, right? So, we're in the AmLaw 200, about 140. So we're a big law firm, but we're not big law where, we're still 350 lawyers versus thousands of lawyers. So we're a middle market, business focused law firm. And so our deal size, I would say on average, is like 20 to 100 million, with a handful above and a handful below, right? When it becomes smaller, those are what's called add-on transactions. So you got a bigger client just looking to do smaller, add-on with smaller clients. And so those are the below 20 range, and they can be, a couple $1 million type of thing. And then I sold a bourbon distillery last year for $600 million. I bought Folgers for the J.M. Smucker Company. That was billions of dollars. So, we get those ones occasionally, but our bread and butter is middle market, and, around the 20 to $100 million range. And like I said before, it's, we do private equity, we do strategics, which are the larger public companies. And then we do a lot of private company M&A. So the diversity of industries, the diversity of the type of buyers, and the size, again, makes the practice real interesting. But generally speaking, we're middle market, and our transactions fall in that area.
Got it. I guess so. Just for a confirmation on what you had said, are you typically representing like the middle market and larger firms in those add-on transactions, or are you also representing the firm that's being added on?
Yeah. So that ebbs and flows. We do both. Obviously, we recent years it's been a good time for businesses to sell. So I would say on a percentage basis, I've sold more than I've bought. But that ebbs and flows, and it's never, it's a small majority on either side as we go here. So we're definitely doing both sides of transactions. And like I said, recently, it's just been a great time to sell businesses. Valuations are up, tons of buyers in the market. And so I would say on a general basis, on a percentage basis, more than majority have been on the sell side recently.
Mm-hmm. And so have you seen there be any change in how M&A transactions are conducted, or the types of deals that have gotten done since COVID compared to prior to COVID?
It's a good question. Yeah, COVID was a shock to the system. We basically shut down for 3 months. We didn't do acquisitions in kind of that spring, early summer timeframe in 2020. We adjusted our practice again to add value and help our clients through COVID, whether it was, can I stay open type of thing, to a lot of employment type of issues. Again, I just don't do M&A. I'm a general corporate advisor and to my clients, solving a multitude of problems. So, but for those months forward, it was, can I stay in business? What's the supply chain? What do my contracts look like? And how do I deal with PPP loans and the labor force and the like? We really got busy second half of 20 and really been going since then. I'd say deals take a little bit longer. There was so much less travel. This whole Zoom thing really came into focus. I did a deal closed in July of 2020 where nobody got face-to-face, right? The buyer never met the management team face-to-face, which, I would have never said possible. It was a software business, so a little bit different. You didn't really have to touch and feel and see the facility to get to know the business, but still to get to know the people. It's different over Zoom, of course. But yeah, so that, I think, and then we into last year, then you ran into issues of the supply chain and labor shortages, and then even into 22, interest rates and inflation. So everything's been a little bit, really a lot different over the last 3 years than pre-COVID. As you work through, when clients are buying businesses, okay, well, is it normal now? Do they have the COVID adjustment? Is their inventory right? Or do they just have some buying opportunities? Or they just bought just to do that? Are they through the supply chain issues? What are their labor issues? So I think right now deals might be taking slightly longer than they did, more diligence. But it's still very active. There is some uncertainty with interest rates, and thus that affects prices for deals. So, a lot of sellers are waiting, not sure if it's the right time to sell their business. And I always say, if you're a good seller, it's always fine to sell the business, type of thing. But it's been a really unprecedented market over the last 3 years, from COVID to craziness in 21, because it was the pent up demand post COVID, to last year with the, like I said, inflation and interest rates and the election and some of the geopolitical things causing some uncertainty and pause, to this year. You still got a little bit of that overhang. And so it's I guess a little bit slower now, but folks I talk to think, we're going to get through that, and have a real busy second half. So long story short, it's, over my long career, it's been really unprecedented deal market for the last three. And one, you got to be, you got to work hard to get your share of deals and be there for your clients in any capacity.
Mm-hmm. And so sort of going back to what you said about sort of the second half of 20, I mean, did you feel like the market was coming back almost immediately?
Yeah, I did. Again, not for all businesses, but, I think the folks that could explain, not like retail, right? But I don't do a lot of retail deals. But, it was a time where, again, people need to do deals. Private equity does, and strategics need to grow. So, I mean, if you had a good business that you could explain how you got through COVID and it really didn't affect you, it was a great time to sell. And because there was the pent up demand. So, yeah, I mean, I would say it was a little slower in the second half than traditionally speaking, but it was pretty much full go. The second half of 20, clearly in 21. And, again, I think we're through COVID and now into the weirdness that is, our economy itself and some of those drivers that, we're an overhang from COVID. Certainly, the labor shortage, I think, and some of the inflationary pressures and some of the inventory, were hangovers from COVID, but they're kind of their own thing now. But people know how to navigate through that. And again, people want to acquire in any time. And to me, it's just a question of whether the sellers think it's a good time to go to market, right? And good time to sell the business. And again, if you're a good seller, it's always a good time.
And sort of going back to what you said, lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Right. That's all right.
So in certain parts of the country, it seems like deal making had slowed down significantly, like in the last 6 or so months. And from you, it sounds like that sort of didn't really happen in Cleveland. I mean, do you feel like Cleveland's maybe more of a resilient market?
Well, I would say the middle market is a more resilient market. I think some of the larger transactions that have kind of international phase to them and have a capital markets, a large lending requirement to them, slowed certainly last year and a little bit into this year. So I don't know that's really geographical, Cleveland versus the U.S. I think it's more size, where the middle market, like there's less uncertainty, I guess. It's really not an international focus to those transactions. I mean, there'll be some international sales or maybe some international subsidiaries, but I have found that the middle market is pretty resilient. A lot of players there as well, and less reliant on some of those other things that are causing some of the larger transactions to slow a little bit. But Cleveland generally, I think I mentioned it's very strong private equity, very tight community, a lot of service providers, investment banks, major law firms, major accounting firms. So we always have, great support in Northeast Ohio for the deal market, a lot of money here. So yeah, I mean, I think, and probably less venture side. Venture maybe slowed a little bit too, and that's more on the coasts, California, New York, Boston. So they might have slowed a little bit. I mean, we definitely have venture deals here, but we're less reliant, I think, on kind of the middle market where our infrastructure here is very strong. So, I think that might play a little bit into it. But generally speaking, I think it's, middle market versus larger transactions that a little bit are more resilient last year and into this year.
Got it. Yeah. And, I think, that's something that a lot of people have noticed is, Cleveland is unique in that way, how there is a substantial amount of private equity, accounting, banking, and legal services in this town, given the size, relative to what you see in, like a Chicago or New York.
Yeah. I mean, certainly we're not Chicago or New York, but we are, in the deal world. I think we were early on, right? We had a ton of private equity firms here in the 80s and 90s when I think other non-New York, Chicago areas didn't have as much, and we build around that. And you're right. We got major banks, major investment banks, and law firms and accounting firms that really grew up around those industries. We lost a lot of public companies, which was unfortunate. We've gained a few, but we had more back in my day, I guess. But we still have an unbelievable deal community, particularly around private equity side. But yeah, Cleveland's has been amazing for decades along those lines, and I think that's a testament to a lot of the early pioneers in private equity around here that kind of really helped grow the industry.
And sort of jumping back to, you touched on this quite a bit before, but do you have any advice for Cleveland-based buyers and sellers, given how the market's functioning right now?
I guess for sellers, it's probably the same, and it's certainly not just Cleveland-based, but you got to plan early, be ready to sell, get your team together, focus on your goals, making sure. It's really hard, and I talk to sellers, virtually every day, but clearly every week. Is it a good time to sell, right? And it's a hard question to answer, right? As I said, the market's always good for good sellers, but is next year's earnings going to be? You got a new product coming out, or new this, new that. You had some efficiencies last year. You had to replace someone on the management team. You're always doing things. So it's almost like, well, just next year will be better because of this. And so at some point, you get it to a place where, you want to sell, right? It's a good time to, for entrepreneurs, it's I need someone to help me grow the business. I need capital. I need a bolstered management team, or I need some strategic angle where a private equity partner would come in. So there it's like, okay, I got to give up X in my, blood, sweat, and tears I put into this, but I'm going to gain Y. And then that's why I'm selling, versus kind of a family-owned business that, do they have a successor in the business? Is it time to take chips off the table? And kind of a whole different type of thought process on when it is the best time to sell for those types of sellers. But there's again a lot of good people that'll help you, talk through those decision trees. Everyone's again willing to help, build relationships, to get the seller in a position to sell, and helping them. This is what we think the value would be if you went to market, and this is what a type of transaction would look like. So there's a lot of that, and it's just planning and talking through when the best time to sell. Buyers kind of maybe a little bit on the flip side is, make those connections, right? Play the long game, try to get relationships with family businesses or entrepreneurs who maybe not, maybe it's not the right time for them to sell their business now, but it will be. So you have a relationship, you have a connection. They see what you would add to, buyers need to add value, right? It's just, sometimes it's purely a financial transaction, but a lot of times it's not, a lot of times they'll want the sellers, what's called rollover, reinvest in the business. So they'll have like 20% or so of the business on a combined basis going forward. And so that's where, all right, I'm going to partner with somebody then. And what's this buyer bring to the table other than a, kind of a big check, where are they going to take it? Again, I think a seller always feels like it's their baby, right? Even when they sell it, but you want to make sure then you sell it to someone that's going to take it to the next level and such. So I think that's buyers that can add value, shows strength in that industry, and have some, whether it's synergies or strategies to help that business go forward, that will help them, get companies to buy, really, and get sellers to sell to them. So industry focus is important there, and getting to know people and make those connections are the best things for a buyer to do.
No, absolutely. No, I think that really covered it all. It definitely helps, with my understanding. on that. So I guess switching gears here, what was your favorite place to be on campus and your favorite place uptown?
Oh, yeah, hate to say the football facilities or any of the sporting venues. Ron Harper played when I was there. I don't know if any of you young folks remember him, but yeah, our basketball team was really good, so we went to all those games. Hockey was pretty good. It got better after I left, so really any of the games. I had a lot of friends who were baseball players, so I love going to all the activities around the sports at Miami. I know where I hung out is not there anymore. It was called Attractions. I think it was across from that Brick Street. It was which was a movie theater when I was there. I bartended there. We went to Thursday nights, Long Island iced teas there. So Skipper's was there, and we had a good time there. Bagel Shop was there, and all of that. So, Bruno. Was it Bruno? No, that was the pizza place.
Bruno's, yeah.
Yeah, it was Bruno. Yeah. So I know that wasn't just one. I know, but you made the rounds. On the same night. I just probably those would be my answers to the lot of good places uptown for sure.
No, definitely. And that attractions place you mentioned, that I think it had a different name when I was there, but my freshman year it was still there.
Okay.
And it's gone now, but it had been there for since you were there.
It was great bar, good food, at a dance floor upstairs. It usually had a DJ or something. It seemed like it was a fun place that wasn't CJ's. You'd go to CJ's if you wanted CJ's, or attractions if you wanted kind of a broader audience, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And so, what was your most memorable moment at Miami?
Probably 1986, my senior year, we won the MAC championship in football. We went to a bowl game, which was fun. Got our butts kicked in the bowl game, but we still won the MAC. And then we beat LSU down in LSU in our I think third game of the season. They were 8th ranked, and it was a lot of fun. They weren't expecting some school from Ohio to come down there and beat them. So I would say that's a highlight. That time period, my senior year, in winning the MAC championship.
No, that's great. It's great. So, so fast forwarding all the way to now in Cleveland, what are your favorite spots in Cleveland? What are your favorite activities around town?
The Marble Room is to die for here. I mean, that's an amazing restaurant. They converted the PNC, or National City Bank building, and really the retail bank into just an amazing restaurant, best sushi in town by far. So that's definitely my go-to place when you can get in. I love the lake. Looking at it now, it's there's tons of things to do there. Shoreby Club is amazing, and the flats are coming back. Going down there tonight to Alley Cat, I think that's a kind of a cool place to hang out. Again, I think Cleveland's coming back. I feel bad for East Fourth. That's just a shell a little bit of what it was pre-COVID. A lot of great spots I like to go to there, but and I also like the Warehouse District. Love Blue Point. Plenty of good spots still around Cleveland, and probably missing all the cool spots since that you guys know of. But those are my spots.
No, I definitely think Cleveland is unique in that regard, that there's so many different pockets just on different parts of town. You have your west side, you have your flats, your downtown, your east side. Just so many different things to do, so many different places to go. So I really do think it's unique in that regard.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you can go out these, Little Italy, and all of that is cool. University Circle, all that stuff built around there. So yeah, but and the beauty of Cleveland also, you can walk, right? Certainly to the downtown places. It's just not hard to. It's easy to get around, and you don't have to get on those dumb scooters to do that. But there's a lot of great places. A lot of people find their places and where they like to hang out. But yeah, Cleveland's great for that stuff for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. And so I guess to close out our main questions, what is one piece of legal advice, any legal advice, that you think everyone could benefit from?
No, I don't know if it's legal. I guess I'll meld it into legal. Is in the way I live is it's just kind of the golden rule, right? I mean, do the right thing. Don't treat people fairly, and you treat people fairly, do the right thing, then you'll avoid lawyers, right? Which is kind of the goal of most people, other than myself, if you want to buy or sell a business. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important to you only have one reputation. So don't waste it on theatrics or being someone who you aren't. But again, treat people fairly. Kind of focus on the goal, and in my practice, again, people are working together towards a common goal, which is good. There's a lot of nuance in between, and good deal lawyers, figure that out as you go. But again, treating people fairly and doing the right thing, I guess, would be some more general advice. But I think it applies to the legal profession as well.
No, absolutely. I think that's great advice for anybody. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk about yourself, your time in Miami, and providing insights from your career. So we do have quite a few questions in the Q&A chat that I think we'll flip over to now.
Okay.
So I guess starting at the beginning, what's the most valuable piece of advice you have received or could provide to someone a few years out of college trying to grow their career?
I guess maybe I touched on a little bit before, and building relationships, right? And I really have found, and I for one, now in my back nine of the career, really like to help young people in this regard, right? Whether it's a coffee or anything. And I think a lot of people are like that. But more specifically, so reach out to mentors or kind of the older generation, because they were in your seat once and really willing to talk about that. It is getting out there, joining alumni associations, obviously anything internal to your organizations, to make connections, add value, make yourself indispensable, whatever that is, right? Always raise your hand, always do a little bit more, right? To get noticed, obviously in a non obnoxious way. But it's just, make yourself valuable, make yourself known, get connections, add value, and seek help, right? Don't try to do it alone. I mean, it's all those people out there that will help you along your career, and then you will help others. It's kind of a nice little circle. And I found, particularly in the Midwest, I mean, that's all I've known, but people are willing to help. People do take the time, and do appreciate that they were in that position back, like, oh my God, I don't even know what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it's talking through that. Again, I'll never forget, I talked to that sports agent who was a major sports agent, right? He represented all the pro golfers and Jack Nicklaus and all those. And he took an hour with me, and it was really cool. And I'll never forget it. And he drove me to law school. So on that path. So it's people are willing to help, and I would just don't be afraid to ask, I guess.
Awesome. So I guess next question is for those of us watching who are not involved in the legal world and are perhaps less versed in your area, how would you describe your work?
So on a day-to-day basis, I'll be preparing a lot of documentation to like document a transaction. So purchase agreements, employment agreements, restrictive covenant agreements, and we negotiate those, right? We work with the other side with respect to negotiating the terms of those types of transactions. We do a lot of due diligence, right? If we're buying a company, the seller will, we ask a lot of questions of the seller. We'll review, their state of affairs, whether it's, on the legal side, compliance with, labor rules and environmental and intellectual property and those types of things, or they're just general contracts and the like for specific provisions. So it's kind of due diligence, it's documentation, it's negotiation, and for some clients, then we also raise capital, help them raise capital. We do the debt documents, Connor, with you and your team to help finance transactions. So we'll facilitate getting the debt in place, getting the equity in place. And a lot of times also on the acquisition side, we'll have, if it's a limited liability company, we have like a partnership agreement on top, which needs to be heavily negotiated, on a multitude of things like how distributions will flow or how exits will go or puts and call rights and voting rights and a lot of those things and, preparing for exit and the what ifs in a transaction. So we'll those agreements are fairly heavily negotiated, but certainly heavily discussed on, kind of what happens if type of thing. So, but yeah, mostly around diligence, documentation, negotiation, and getting the documents in place. And once that's done, hopefully you never have to look at those documents again. And, but we always plan for the what ifs, what if, they didn't represent this right, or what happens if they're going to leave employment, what happens to their equity, what happens on an exit down the road. Those are the types of things we're thinking about every day.
Mm-hmm. And so for the next question, I think you may have already spoken to this a little bit when you were talking about your experience in the football team, but what outside the classroom experiences at Miami best prepared you for your career?
Yeah, I would probably go back to what I said before. I mean, again, I think, every day you got to perform, right? And you learn that early on in sports. You learn in the classroom as well with respect to getting grades. But so, again, putting yourself out there, challenging yourself, having to perform on a daily basis and which I think is good, right? You get a sense of accomplishment, instant feedback, you reach goals, and you kind of satisfy yourself from that standpoint. So, I mean, I think those lessons when you're playing a sport are true. Obviously, in the classroom, they're true as well. You push yourself, you study, you want to attain, the best grades type of thing. So, I think, if anything, and I get 3 kids, just I push them to obviously do their best, but do more, right? Try to make those connections. Try to challenge yourself. Get out of your comfort zone type of thing, right? Whether it's public speaking or whatever, right? And getting to know more people. Not easy for everybody, and I get that, and it wasn't easy for me, quite frankly. But the more you do it, the more it gets a little bit easier. So, again, I think it's just challenging yourself to be your best self, right? And again, whatever that means can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But making sure you understand what you kind of want, and that means getting out there and trying different things to kind of make sure, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And so last question, this is a good one. Do you have a dream client or wish list for your legal work, a merger you'd love to make happen?
That is an excellent question. Well, I'd have to say, and I'm sure all my clients are not listening, but don't want to offend anybody. I've loved working with the J.M. Smucker Company, a fabulous company. They're in Oroville. So done a lot, like I said, done a lot of transactions for them in the past. I would say last year was probably my most fun transaction. Got introduced to and worked for 5 years for a company called Wilderness Trail. It's on the Bourbon Trail in Danville, Kentucky. Great guys, 50-50, 2 guys owned it. And we entered the sale process at the beginning of last year, sold that company to Campari, a large Italian spirits company, we signed it and we closed in early December. Just a great transaction, great folks. Now I'm representing a couple other bourbon clients. I enjoy bourbon. And so those have been a lot of fun clients. Great people down there. Yeah, kind of salt of the earth, handshake kind of folks. So, they've been great. I guess I got a nice wealth management client is rolling up wealth management businesses. Is a lot of fun to do their deals. See all shapes and sizes there, to the to the 1 or 2 person shop that are small to larger ones. So I enjoy those transactions because again, you meet all sorts of types of people, and you get those deals done. I guess I don't really have a dream one that I haven't done yet, but I'll have to think about that one a little bit. But a couple of them last year were a lot of fun and very rewarding.
You're living the dream now.
Yeah, living the dream, right? Most days. Some days are better than others, as I'm sure everyone can say.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Mike, thank you once again for your time today. We really appreciate having you on here, and I certainly learned a lot in the course of the conversation.
Yeah, my pleasure, Connor. Appreciate your guys' time and you guys setting it up, and good luck to everybody. And I'm honest, if anyone wants to reach out, open line of communication, happy to meet anybody and answer any other specific questions on advice for their careers or what I do. So it's all good.
Awesome. And thank you again to our viewers. We really appreciate having you on here for this live event. Our Career Development Committee will be hosting a in-person Miami Women's Network panel event at the Union Club of Cleveland in May. So be on the lookout for more details for that as they become available. But thank you all and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.